Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Moderately Athletic Podcast. I am your host, Sam Wantock, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Tyler Noctical and Ethan Decker. Fellas, how we doing this fine evening?
Doing
I'll go
great.
first. I'm doing great. I'll go
Go ahead.
first. Doing great. Really excited for this. Been talking about it for a while. Just ready to talk football. Ready to talk ball. Um, Ready to hear you guys' opinions on a lot of things, and just excited to go. Decker, what about you?
I'm feeling really good. As most of you viewers who might be checking this out remember me and Sam from Skull Chat last year. It was mildly successful run, but this is our new project, and we are ready to embark on history here, and I'm excited.
Exactly. Yes. I think because we've expanded the range of what we're going to talk about, and that will definitely expand an audience.
Yes, of course.
But, of course, some of you might have no idea who we are, so we're going to start by doing that. Well, as I just mentioned, my name is Sam. I am a Vikings fan, have been since 2001, and I don't plan on that ever changing. I like long walks on the beach, I like my dog, and I love the movie Whiplash.
All right. I'm Tyler. I am the solo Packer fan in this podcast group. I love my dog, also like Sam, but most importantly, I love the game of football, and I'm ready to talk about it. So, Deck?
Yep. As you guys know, I'm Decker, and like Wantock, diehard Viking fan. As for me, love the game of football as well. Love fantasy football. That's a big emphasis on the fantasy football, and yeah, I'm just excited for this to get going.
Yeah, because as Tyler had touched on lightly, he's the only Packer fan in this podcast. He's outnumbered 2-1, and Tyler, do you think there might be a challenge getting your opinions across the board when you're outnumbered so heavily?
I mean,
in
I
this
think we'll
arena.
Yeah, I think we'll see, like, even today, you'll see the biases come out in our award predictions today, which is the topic of today's episode. There's, Sam's got his own biases, I got my own, and that shows. Decker's pretty partial, I would say, but, yeah, when it comes to getting my point across with you two, it might take some twisting of the arms for you guys to come across, but hey, let's try it out.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do anything, is to just try and see if it works out. So the main thing we'll be doing, oh man, yeah, trying to tie things together here. We're learning, we're trying,
yeah.
we're trying things. That's how we do it. Okay, so basically, our plan for this inaugural episode is to show you how we think the award ceremony will be going this year. I think it'll definitely lead to more insight of how we think, what we value in a sports team, and who we think is going to come out on top. We're going to be covering MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year, as well as the Defensive Player of the Year, and we've got our rookies on both sides of the ball, and we got Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, as always, and now we're going to have a surprise at the end for you. It's a very special award. It can only be won by the best players, so I think we're going to save that one till the end.
We are,
Well,
yeah.
we're going to go over that when we get there. So, yeah, that's going to be the big plan. I don't know how we want to start this.
You know what? I'll kick it off.
how do you
I'll
wanna
kick it
do
off
this?
with
Okay.
with my MVP prediction. Only because you two have the same one, but I'm going with Justin Herbert this year, and I think last year, and even his rookie season, he's shown just that potential he had, and a lot of people were worried about a sophomore slump, and he did not show it. He improved on his rookie season, and if he can just improve just a little bit more on even a sophomore season, the sky is the limit for this guy. He's got great weapons around him. His O-line is beefed up. The Chargers drafted Zion Johnson in the first, who's going to be playing, I assume, right guard on their O-line. And this guy is an absolute stud. He's super smart. I think he graduated Boston College with either a 4.0 or over a 4.0 when it's weighted. And so, but not only is he super smart, dude's a mauler. He's a thick guard who's going to be helping the right side of the ball, which they really desperately needed to protect Justin Herbert. And kind of going off of that, the weapons he has Keenan Allen, who is aging a little bit, but he's still, in a lot of people's opinions, a top 5 wide receiver, and that just comes down to route running for Keenan Allen. And then on the outside, you got Mike Williams, who's just go up and get it kind of guy. He showed just how great he can be at the beginning half of last season, then kind of trickled off due to an injury, but that dynamic duo at wide receiver can really push Herbert into that MVP category, and I think the odds right now has him as like the fifth best odds, but so he's not the clear favorite, obviously. He's not really a dark horse, but he's in that conversation, and it's for a good reason. It's going to be a very, very effective offense, and I'm excited to see it. So yeah, Justin Herbert.
That's definitely a good pick for sure.
That's definitely raised some good points there. It's I think what's definitely going to come down to Herbert being that guy is he obviously has to make a playoff appearance to get to MVP.
Right.
And of course, they were one bad coaching decision away from making it. I do think if he makes the playoffs, he's definitely a guy that can be in that conversation. So it's definitely a solid pick for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll kind of take the point on this one with me and Sam having the exact same MVP pick, but we both have Josh Allen, and I don't know what your reasoning might be. I'm assuming we might have the same sort of reasoning, but I'm just a big Bills guy this year. I think they build on they take that AFC Championship loss they had last year, which was an absolute heartbreaker, where many people thought they were going to the Super Bowl. I think they build off that, especially Allen. I mean, he still has the weapons around him. He has Stephon Diggs. They add Jamison Crowder into the slot there. They got Gabriel Davis on the outside as well. Dawson Knox, maybe O.J. Howard, a former first-round pick who's been labeled the bust mostly because of the time in Tampa he had. But they bring in O.J. Howard to go along with Dawson Knox, and he's got average, not great backfield and Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, but James Cook comes in, having a great camp. Obviously the brother of Dalvin, so if those genes pay off, James Cook could become an animal. But I just think Josh Allen is just the sky's the limit for him and the team this year, and obviously the loss of Dable hurts for him, but I just think the guy is just too good. Just too many good weapons around him, solid O-line, being able to be mobile, and and that division with the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins, obviously Belichick, you can never truly count him out to win the division, and the Dolphins, got better with adding Tron Armstead left tackle to protect Tua, and then you add Tyreek Hill out there as weapon as well. But I just think the division is going to be definitely the Bills to take, and Super Bowl appearances is kind of like Super Bowl or bust for them this year. So I'm thinking big things for Josh Allen.
Yeah, because I don't want to echo everything that you just said, but I do think you summarized it perfectly. One aspect that I think that we should definitely touch on is that Josh Allen has always had that rushing ability, which I think is definitely going to help like the stat side of his MVP season, because he's always been a guy that can run it in and get some good yards and get some good touchdowns as well. Because that's what really got Cam Newton over the edge back in that 2016 season, and I think that while he's not a Cam Newton in rushing, I think he's up there. So I think that rushing ability will also be a big factor. But yeah, it's like Bill's probably gonna be the team to beat, and Josh Allen's gonna get him there. So I think that the MVP this year is his to lose. So
yeah,
that's what I think personally.
Yeah, you guys bring up good points. It's definitely the Bills' division to lose, but I think playing in the AFC West, I feel. At least hopefully, voters take into consideration level of competition played, and I think with the past couple MVPs being Rodgers, which I know you guys dislike, but as a Packer fan, I see that, and I saw, especially last year, just the numbers that he put up compared to Tom Brady. Tom Brady put up better numbers statistically. But just the overall efficiency that Rodgers had was just like far beyond. Well, I shouldn't say far beyond. They were better than Brady's, and I think that's why he won. Just how efficient he was throwing the ball and the amount of interceptions he threw. And I think that's the difference between Justin Herbert and Josh Allen we're going to see. I think Allen's going to put up those numbers, be far and away probably the league in passing yards. He's going to be a top rusher. But I think Herbert is really going to take that step to become more efficient throwing the ball and have the more efficient numbers and the statistics that some voters look for are going to be there.
Sure.
So I think that's why I'm leaning Herbert over Allen this year.
I definitely get that. That is something that they might certainly take into consideration, is that touchdown interception ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Allen's definitely a little more, less cautious than most in terms of some of his decisions. So that could definitely be the big deal breaker if that does come down to that.
Shift over to.
I suppose if there's.
We shift over to Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's see our Offensive Player of the Year picks.
Tyler, want to start this one off again?
Personally.
Or Sam?
Yeah,
No. Let me start.
Okay.
I'm going to start because
this is a big take.
I know that some of you might not like my reasoning or think, here's where the bias comes in. But no, not biased. Simply fact. Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year. Let me tell you why. All right. KOC, baby. KOC. He wants to do a pass-first offense, all right? Pass first. And Justin Jefferson has been in a run-first offense his entire career, and he has the most receiving yards in your first 2 seasons ever. This man is about to explode onto the scene, especially if Thielen and KJ Osborne can stay healthy to take away some of the pressure on him, so he's not just being covered by the best guy every time. I mean, it's really not even fair at this point. Justin Jefferson is going to run away with this one this year. I don't know if we're going to see Cup-like numbers, but I certainly wouldn't doubt it. I just think that shifting gears to really just feeding Jefferson for the first time ever and not trying to keep the ball on the ground for like most of the game, that is really going to probably push him over the edge and just get him that top echelon ability. So it's Jefferson, no brainer.
Yeah, I just saw an interview Jefferson did, and he was talking about, I think verbatim, he said, I can see why Cup was so open all the time was because of KOC. And who won Offensive Player of the last year? Can you remind me?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Was it Kupp?
Yeah.
Because
yeah, it was.
Jamar was Rookie of the Year. Cupp was
yes.
Offensive Player.
Now, if trends hold on, KOC wide receiver should win it this year, right? And not only do I think Jefferson is a more talented wide receiver, Kirk Cousins, I'm not saying he's a better QB, but he's not dealing with a elbow problem right now, and maybe KOC is what Cousins needed to unlock that connection to Jefferson. So I can totally see it. But for me, my MVP is going to be Jonathan Taylor. It was a two-way battle between JT and Cooper Kupp last year, and I personally I wanted JT to win it, but I wanted JT to win it until I saw Cooper Kupp's numbers at the end of the season. Triple Crown, I mean that's hard to argue against. But JT, the Colts, I would say massive upgrade for him at quarterback. And yes, he's a running back, but he's gonna catch a lot of balls this year. Matt Ryan he's gonna stand in the pocket. He's old. He's not gonna move around a whole lot. And so dump off passes JT, and he works best in space, man. He's going to make guys miss, and he's going to get a lot of yards, and he's going to get a lot of receptions, and he's going to get a lot of touchdowns this year. So, and not to mention the Colts have a top 5 O-line this year and have had. So, I think we're going to see very, very similar numbers from JT. And, if he comes anywhere near to last year's numbers and doesn't really trickle off at the end, it's his for the taking, personally. But,
Yeah.
Dak, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, those are two very solid picks. Off of Jefferson, you bring in KOC from the Rams, who obviously has the Cup connection. You bring in Wes Phillips, who's our no OC, also coming from that system. And, everything from camp so far is, the highlights and the tape I see, it's like Jefferson is having such a good camp so far. And it's just crazy to think that these are also professional defensive backs going one-on-one on him when he's making them look so silly. But, yeah, I could definitely see that one. I could definitely see JT. You bring in Matt Ryan. There's going to be some dump offs. Obviously, Taylor's going to get the ball a lot. You got Pittman, a receiver, who's, a very good receiver, but everything else is very, meh right now. But for me, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. I was also on board with Jefferson for a while, but last minute I kind of went with Derrick Henry. Just thinking about that Titans offense right now, Tannehill had a decline last year. You lose your top receiver in A.J. Brown. And it is just overall just Derrick Henry's offense. That guy's going to get the rock, 25, 30 times a game if it comes down to it. But, he is such an animal when he's healthy. Even playing with that plate he had in his foot or whatever after the injury last year, the guy's just an animal. And, when he's out there, he's going to do big things. And I expect him to be, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I expect him to be healthy fully this year. And, he's going to have to carry Tannehill a lot because I'm just not a big Tannehill guy, and I think it might just keep going down from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a very strong possibility as well because I don't think Tannehill's going to be the guy. I think he might decline, so they're going to have to run the rock even more.
Yeah.
So,
it's just like, he's already, 29? He's up there.
Talking Derrick?
Derrick, yeah.
Like the 2015 class or 2016, and I want to say 20.
He's
28.
Well, one second. Let's go to reliable Google here, and we'll get the actual.
He
answer.
is 28. Okay, 28 for a running back is ancient. Okay, not to mention, Henry's had a very good track record with injury, but then we see it finally catch up to him last year. I had him in fantasy. I saw it firsthand. He was dominant the first 5 weeks of the season, and then he hurts his foot, and he's out the rest of the season. And not only was that devastating to me, but it was devastating. Well, actually, it wasn't devastating to the Titans because they went on to get the 1 seed somehow. But you get a little nervous with Henry when he gets over that threshold for running backs, and a guy that's not really used to injuries gets one. It's a little concerning. And that O-line, I'm not sure if they've really improved. I know they lost Saffold.
Saffold.
Right, Deck?
Yep, Saffold went to Buffalo.
So, so it's, it's a less improved D-line or offensive line. And, we say that, they're going to have to rely on him more. More usage isn't always the best, but Henry's used to that 30 carries a game, and in those last 10 carries, like the 20 to 30, he's ripping off big chunks. So I'd love to see it again from him. I'm just a little cautious.
I definitely get that because it's just because Henry seems like he could be that athletic freak where age doesn't really affect him yet. Because that's what I would say if, last season didn't happen. You could say it's a fluke and it's like a CMC thing where you got to see it 2 years in a row before you believe it. I still might be in that camp partially, but I can definitely see why that would warrant some caution. So I may definitely get that. But Tyler, I do hope you're right on JT because I'm taking him first overall in fantasy this year, and I think offensive player of the year kind of year would be great for me. So JT or Jefferson, I'd be the happiest man on earth. All right, let's move on to defensive player of the year.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, cool. So I suppose, Decker, you have the one different person. Would you want to start us off?
Yes, I can lead this off. Okay. I had my pick this year was Micah Parsons. Obviously, last year he was the defensive rookie of the year with a monster season, but I think he can take the step up even more to defensive player of the year this year. Keeping Dan Quinn there at DC definitely helps out. Dan Quinn knows what Micah Parsons can do, knows the schemes he can run out there for him. I just think year 2 for Micah is just going to be even better, and he takes the next step. That D line in Dallas is still so good. And then you add the linebacker core is very solid as well. But Micah Parsons is coming off the edge is going to be a nightmare in my opinion, and I just think he can really take that next step even higher than what we saw his rookie year.
To me, it's like, is Micah Parsons a good player? Yeah, he's a really good player. He's probably like a top 50 player in the league. Does he play for the Cowboys? Yeah, he plays for the Cowboys. Therefore, I can't pick him. No, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. Parsons had a phenomenally good rookie season, like record book. Just to me, it was part skill, part his surroundings. The Cowboys defense definitely outperformed that than what they were capable of, and they had Trayvon Diggs outperform in the interception column. They had Randy Gregory on the other side outperforming, and then they had like a carousel of linebackers in and out. So of course that and did Micah start out as a middle linebacker or an outside linebacker?
I think they did. I think
I
they
believe
just
so.
outside, and then they kicked him down.
Right. So and Dan Quinn, phenomenal defensive coordinator. To me, I still think it's going to be a year or two before he really kind of finds his own, because he was super raw coming out of college, and that's why they were like moving him around the whole season, trying to find where he fits. And even they've said even this year they're still going to move him around. He's not going to be a pure pass rusher, and so I think that could either benefit or hinder his defensive player of the year chances. And I guess we'll just have to see. Sam, what do you think about Parsons?
Yeah, my entire thought process behind it is that, like you had mentioned, of course he was raw, and that's not my main thinking as to why I wouldn't pick him, because last year the guy had a season that could have won him defensive player of the year, not just rookie. So my thinking is that it's sort of the idea behind the sophomore slump. I feel like coordinators might have figured him out a little bit, and he might not do as well. I'm sure he'll still be more than solid and be a great piece of the Cowboys defense, but I think that a definite sign of regression could be in the future, just with the fact that I know for a fact that every coordinator who is playing the Cowboys this year has been just watching his tape, because they know that if they beat him, they take out a big part of the defense. So I think a sign of regression is definitely in the future. So that's why I don't think he's the best pick. I think that who I picked and who Tyler and I picked is a safer and more possible pick.
Right. And you know what, Sam? I'll start off with this with just one word. One word for our player. Due. That's right. Myles Garrett is due for a defensive player of the year. Right. He's had phenomenal years in the past. And you know what? How unlucky is he to not only have to go against Aaron Donald in his prime, but an up-and-coming TJ Watt, right? And the years that Myles Garrett has had, unfortunately, have been shadowed by some of the best defensive players we've seen in the league history. I mean, we saw TJ Watt almost break the sack record last year. Boom. Season for the ages. We saw Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle, have statistically one of the best interior defensive lineman seasons. And I think Myles Garrett, if he just he doesn't even need to take a step forward. He just needs to keep playing as himself. And what needs to happen is that someone just can't have a freak season like what has happened in the past. People just need to be normal for one season so Myles Garrett can win this goddamn award because he is due. All right. What about you, Sam? What do you think?
I mean, in some ways, you took the words out of my mouth for sure because, like, when you're going up against Aaron Donald for, like, I mean, your entire career, and then you have that sack record season, it's like, yeah, I mean, you almost can't compete with that. And and so it's like, you know, you've got Donald going on 30, and you've got TJ who, like, he shouldn't, tie the sack record again. So, like, it's definitely could be the year that Myles Garrett finally does it. And, yeah, no, I think it's like the most sound pick you could make just because of how well he's played, and maybe some voters would take past seasons into account a little bit, like not even like consciously, but like no, in a way you think like this guy's played so well for so long,
Right.
Yeah, so
And he's due.
I think,
so
yeah,
he's due.
yeah, exactly.
It just comes down to that due. All right. Myles
Due,
Garrett
maybe.
is due
That's really
for a defensive
Yeah,
player.
change
go.
change him to Miles Durant.
Ooh. Let's move on.
All right.
Offensive rookie of the year.
All right. Well, so we're kind of all over the place on this one. So I don't know who wants to start, but I think it is interesting how we all picked the same position. So,
I mean, I could start. I mean, I got the hometown guy. I got Watson. I got the newest addition, the highest drafted skill position for Aaron Rodgers. And it's coming out of college, he is like Parsons, and he's this athletic freak, right? And he went to a lower level Division I school, right? So he might not have seen the best competition, but his like athletic metrics are off the charts. Now, he tests very, very similar to a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, actually. He's got like a very similar build, a very similar 40, and you know what? He's a field stretcher, and that's what he's going to be. He's coming in to fill that role for Rodgers in Green Bay, and if he can play just a hair better, not even a hair. He's got to play a lot better than Marquez Valdez-Scantling because Scantling did not have the best hands, right? He dropped a lot of easy catches. It cost Rodgers a lot of yards. And, so he's got to play good. Not only that, and he's battling an injury right now. He hasn't been in training camp yet. But just the league is kind of making a shift to drafting, like, athletic freaks, right? The guys that have the ability to do it, just not the skills yet. And, we see, even this year, we saw Trayvon Walker go number 1 overall over guys like, Aiden Hutchinson, who, like, he's the most pro-ready athlete. He's got all the skills that you would want, but, Trayvon Walker he tested like crazy at the combine, just his athletic ability. So I think when you get a guy that is just so athletic and so, like, and also huge, like, Watson is a big guy. I think coaches can finally start to tweak how these guys think about the game, and also coach them just to be better players and really play into their skill set. So I think Watson is going to be my pick for offensive rookie of the year, and I think he is in a top 2 or 3 position to win it. Like, getting dropped in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that's a dream come true for a lot of wide receivers. So I'm hoping they build a rapport right away. And, I like Christian Watson. And as a dark horse, I like Dubs, our like 5th round pick. I also like him as a dark horse for offensive rookie of the year. He's been playing very well, but I digress.
Romeo Dubs. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid pick for sure. Sorry, Decker, I cut you off. You can go.
No. I was gonna say I think I'll take this one. I'm also going wide receiver. I'm going Traylon Burks. Not a very sexy pick, obviously. As I said earlier, not a big Tannehill guy. But again, it comes down to who else does he really have to throw the ball to? They bring in Robert Woods, but Robert Woods is coming off a ACL tear, I believe.
Severe ACL tear, yeah.
Yeah, pretty severe. And other than that, there's just not a lot of guys in that Tennessee receiving core that they want to throw the ball to. With AJ Brown gone, Julio gone, which Julio was already regressing, and had the injuries on and off, but not a very steady tight end, if I believe so. I don't think they really brought anybody, and I think they're still rolling.
No,
with
they brought in Austin Hooper, but I mean, ever since Austin Hooper's last season with Atlanta, he really hasn't shown anything special. But he's been in Cleveland the past couple seasons, so that might that didn't help.
Right. So for me, Traylon Burks just kind of it's not a great rookie offensive class per se. You got Jameson Williams coming off a ACL tear, and there's no, obviously it's a very quarterback award if someone was in it, but I don't see like a Kenny Pickett taking over to win it, or Ritter's not going to start, or those type of guys, or Malik Willis, for example. But Traylon Burks, for me, I don't know, it just seems like he's coming out of the SEC out in Arkansas, dominated that. It just comes down to who else is Tannehill going to really throw the ball to, and he could just slide in there where he could just randomly win, or just not put up the greatest numbers, but the offensive rookie class could just be a bombshell too. So
word out of camp for the Steelers is that Pickett's getting reps with the third team right now, so I don't think we'll see him till very late in the season. And Burks has he landed in a good spot for volume. He's gonna get the volume. He might not have the best QB, and Christian Watson, he landed where he could get the volume, and he's got the QB, and same thing with Sam's guy. He might get the volume, but he's definitely got a good QB, so he's in a top 3 spot for sure. Sam, why don't you talk about your pick?
Yeah, no, thank you. Because you just transitioned very well into what I was going to say, is that I think that who I picked definitely lines up with your line of thinking, Tyler, and that is Sky Moore for the Kansas City Chiefs, wide receiver. Because, again, because you want to have a top quarterback, and if you can't have Rodgers, you might as well have Mahomes. I think that, what more could you ask for? And then I think that the question most people are wondering is, he's joining kind of a crowded group. You got Kelsey, Juju, MVS went there as well. And then
Mecole.
Mecole, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
All good.
Yeah. So it's a crowded receiver room, but I mean, there's a good chance a lot of those guys just might suck. I'm not a big Juju fan. I certainly think that having Big Ben didn't help, but he just wasn't the same guy after AB left. I don't know if he's going to be that guy. Mm-hmm. Mecole probably would have been that guy by now. He's been there for how long? I don't think he's going to be that guy.
I think he's entered year 4.
Yeah, year 4. You got MVS. I think he'll be very similar to what he was in Green Bay. So I think that Sky Moore has the most potential to be that new number 1 guy. I mean, take him in the second round. Clearly, you see something in him. And, of course, Kelsey, I mean, he's 33. I'm kind of waiting for him to just finally digress a little bit. So I think it's going to be a Sky Moore and Kelsey show pretty early on in the year. Maybe not initially, but I think it'll be like a Justin Jefferson situation where by week 3 we're going to start seeing him put some flashes up there. But certainly, Watson's a very solid pick. Burks is also. I just couldn't pick, Watson because I can't bring that negative energy into the world.
Right.
Just in case that would happen. So
yeah.
Sky Moore. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's my guy.
Just one more thing. It's we see a lot besides Burks, the first round wide receivers aren't really the guys that come to mind, and it's because for me personally, it's who's got the good quarterback, right? And it's we see Drake London. He might have the best season out of all the rookie wide receivers, but it all comes down to how does Mariota play, right? Does Jameson get on the field right away, and is Goff able to hit him downfield? And it's like same with Olave. How is Jameis gonna do off of his injury? And he's in a crowded backfield, so I think right now we're with for at least for offensive rookie, I think the biggest thing is opportunity, right? And because they all got the skills to do it, but it just comes to opportunity and volume. And I just saw that line or that same train of thought throughout all of us. So yeah, so now we got defensive rookie of the year. Deck, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. For me, this is going to be Jermaine Johnson. I went back and forth. I originally when my initial thought was I was going with Kyle Hamilton, but then I had to change the thought where I was like, I think this is going to be an edge rusher year for rookie of the year as it usually mostly is. But Jermaine Johnson for me, it's just all about the head coach, and that is Robert Saleh, who loves his defense. And the edge rushers usually succeed in it from his Frisco days. Nick Bosa was very solid. D Ford had some good years when Saleh was there at DC. And then this year they also bring back Carl Lawson off a season-ending injury from last year when they brought him as a big-time free agent. So you're going to have Lawson and Jermaine Johnson off the edge. And both shall succeed, in my opinion. But I think with Lawson getting just a little bit more attention over there, I think Jermaine can just take advantage of whether he's on the left or the right, take advantage of that tackle, and just pile up on the QB. And another incentive for him is just because of how much he slid. In some mock drafts, some people had him at 4, 5, anywhere in the top 10, and he fell all the way to I believe it was 26. So, I think he's just got a little bit extra chip on his shoulder, where he just wants to be able to play very, very good. And the head coach just really helps, in my opinion, with Saleh, who just. It's just a
And we saw last year with having a efficient pass rusher on the other side of a rookie, with Micah Parsons having Randy Gregory. Maybe Carl Lawson is it is exactly what Jermaine Johnson needs to kind of draw away, maybe switch sides, draw away a little bit more blockers, and open up one-on-one pass rushing because he's a lot like Micah Parsons. He's got the athletic ability. He's a little raw still, but having that 1-2 punch with Lawson and Jermaine, I think it's going to work out really well. And kind of piggybacking off of that with the athleticism and going off of Parsons' comparison, I picked Kayvon Thibodeau. Thibodeau is like the athletic freak Parsons was with the skill set that Aiden Hutchinson is bringing out. Right? He was the complete package. And there were concerns about his like wanting to play football in the next level. There was personality concerns and just maturity concerns in the draft process. But the Giants saw something in him. They took him with a top 10 pick, and like I said before, this is starting to become an athlete's league. Right, and that's exactly what Thibodeau is. He's a high caliber athlete. He doesn't have a whole lot of bend in his pass rush, from what I've heard. But that's something that you can work on, obviously. But this guy has technique down to a T. He's got the speed. He's got the strength, and I think he's a good fit in New York, who desperately needs a pass rusher. He might not have a number or another good rusher on the other side of him. They got Azeez Olare, who they drafted last year. I believe he got hurt during the season, so he wasn't able to really put up any numbers. But if those guys are able to both produce, or at least get better over time with each other, I think that's going to be a good 1-2 punch in New York for a while now. So yeah, I got Thibodeau as my defensive rookie. Sam, what about you?
Yeah. Well, to backtrack slightly, it was Decker who commented about how Robert Saleh can bring out the best in Mr. Jermaine Johnson. Decker, I take your Robert Sala and I raise you a man Campbell, baby. Aiden Hutchinson. It's just, you know, going back to what like we were talking about with like Hutchinson, I think Tyler touched on this. He's definitely the most pro-ready option when looking at any defensive player in the draft right now, and I I just genuinely believe that Mr. Dan Campbell is going to bring out the knee biter in this man. You know, he's hungry, he's ready. I think he's just really good to go. And because you'd also brought up the point about how it's good to have that edge rusher on the other side, and if I'm not mistaken, he does still have Romeo Okwara on the other side of him as well. So that's definitely gonna help as well. I mean, I don't think Okwara is elite by any means, but he's certainly gonna
He's
be
a
enough
warm
to
body.
take some of that
Yes.
pressure off. Yes, exactly. So, thank you. That's yeah. You know, yeah.
Have you guys
Nice and
watched the
blunt.
first episode of Hard Knocks yet?
I have no
Not
idea.
yet.
I just watched it
why.
like
But that-
15 minutes before we got on, and man, let me tell you, this is kind of like a thing that I picked up. Aiden Hutchinson going up against Penei Sewell, who's one of the best young tackles in the league. Probably, well, screw young. He's one of the best tackles in the league. Just seeing their reps go back and forth, you can kind of tell that Aiden Hutchinson is really learning. He knows how to move his body around, and going up against I'd say top 5 tackle in Penei is really, really going to help him, especially in his rookie campaign. So I think that is the most solid pick, I think, Sam. Playing it safe, but for the exact right reasons. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I like what the Lions are
Yes.
building too. I mean, they're Campbell cries for his team, and he's building a good culture there. You can might not be seeing it fully this year in year 2, but I think
Right.
year 3, year
Yeah.
4, they got it.
Now, I'm not sponsored by HBO in any way, obviously, but if you don't got it, go get it. Watch this season of Hard Knocks. First episode of Hard Knocks, I was ready to run through a wall. Like, you don't even, like, I was hyped. That, yeah, I'm excited for the Lions. In-division rival, I think we can all say it. We're excited to see where they go. Dan Campbell's the right man for a rebuild, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I digress.
Yeah, no, Lions are just like, you kind of want to because you want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because they don't get to do that very often, so it's kind of fun to see them do well. Yeah, but I suppose to move on to Coach of the Year. I mean, I wouldn't mind starting because I kind of got my ideas laid out. And so my Coach of the Year candidate that I think is going to really do numbers is Mr. Todd Bowles. Simply because I don't think there has ever been somebody in the history of a rookie head coach that has inherited such a complete and just full unit team. Like, I mean, it's definitely somebody's dream to like become a first. I guess he's not really a first year head coach because he had his Jet stint, but like to like restart as a head coach and to get Tom Brady, it's like, I mean, it kind of played it on easy mode almost. So, because I look at the trend of like who wins Coach of the Year, seems to be that it's usually like a first year head coach that has like the best record. Sometimes it's based off improvement, but I mean, I just think that Todd Bowles gets the best situation as a first year head coach by far, and I think that he has a very good shot at winning it.
Yeah. Yeah, Bowles is definitely a very,
For sure.
very solid pick. I'm a little nervous just because he's not, like, a really, like, rookie head coach. But, yeah, he's got a solid team. Arians did a great job leaving it for him, really setting him up to succeed. Yeah, Buccaneers, like Sam said, very solid team. The thing is with Bowles, while that Jets team was certainly not the best, it was a short stint in New York for a reason. So, but like I said, Arians left him like the holy grail of first-year coaches, first-year coaches, air quotes around that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how Bowles does this year. Deck, who do you got? Speaking of first-year head coaching, who do you got?
Yeah. Speaking of first year head coaches, I have. Well, first let me rewind 1 year for you guys. Last year, Mr. Sam Wontok took Robert Saleh. He was completely bought in on first year head coaches succeeding to win Coach of the Year. Obviously, that was a big flop. They nowhere near expectations, and just Zach Taylor comes out of nowhere with the improvement side of the Coach of the Year. Big rebuild, big improvement from 4-win team in Cincy to making the Super Bowl, which was a shoe-in for Zach Taylor to win it. But I'm gonna go to the Wontok well here and take first year head coach Nathaniel Hackett and Denver. Reasoning behind this is it's a mixture of both things, a mixture of rookie head coach and a mixture of improvement. And as we saw in the Vic Fangio era in Denver, they were completely flopped. I mean, great defense, but offense never really did much. They, standings wise and wins wise, never really up there, never made the playoffs. But I think Nathaniel Hackett walks into a great situation. Obviously, bringing in Russell Wilson is number one. You keep that same defense. That defense is there. You got the players that are still there and will still dominate. But offensively now, you bring in Russell Wilson. You got Javonte Williams year 2. The Tim Patrick injury, sure, that one might hurt a little bit, but you still got Jerry Jeudy, you still got Cortland Sutton, and let's not forget about Albert O, who Albert O maybe could be a tight end sleeper for this year. But Nathaniel Hackett, just a guy with a great resume, great leader. Obviously, being the OC in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers had a lot of praise for him, and that takes a lot for an offensive coach who Rodgers never really praises his coaches. But Nathaniel Hackett, he was very vocal about how good of a coach he was, how he ran, a meeting room, how he ran the offense. So I just think in a very tough division, which could be anybody's, I'm not saying they're going to sneak into the playoffs, but I think they could be very competitive to the point where, it could be a game here where they just happen to miss out. But I just think Hackett walks into a great situation, and, based off Denver's previous years, I think there will be a big improvement, and I think committee could look at that and give it the good old.
I think Hackett's already the second best head coach in that division. I'm not a big Staley guy. Obviously we saw last year with his blunder to get into the playoffs. He's very statistic driven, and while football is a game of stats, sometimes it's gut decisions that pay off at the end. So I'm not a big stats guy. And then McDaniels, is that right? Yeah. In Las Vegas.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels.
Yep. He's he's the head coach there. I'm not a big McDaniels guy either. And the thing with Hackett is he let Rodgers do his thing. He saw, he had like top 3 quarterback of all time with him, right? And he let Rodgers do his thing. Now he's got Russ. And what's the word with Russ? What's the saying with Russ? We let Russ cook.
Let's cook.
Yes.
Sorry, I probably should have tried that unison.
No, you're good. So, Hackett knows how Russ cooks, right? He's going to let him do his thing, and I think that's exactly what Russell Wilson needs to do with this newfound wide receiver core and this newfound offense, who has, like Decker, you didn't mention it, but they got a very solid O-line. So I think, their defense is great too. So I think that's a very solid pick in a very tough decision. And if Broncos win that division, I think Hackett's definitely going to be in the Coach of the Year candidate. So, but kind of bouncing off my own idea, my head coach is Nick Sirianni, and we'll talk about predictions later. Looking at the Eagles' schedule, they have a pretty mediocre schedule, I'll say. I don't have them winning more than 10 games, but I have Sirianni here because I think Sirianni might have stumbled his way into one of the best rosters in the league. Their defense is going to be they have so much firepower on that defense, and that offense, if Jalen Hurts can just take that next step, I think that's going to be one of the best teams in the league. And that's why I really think that the Eagles might have one of the best records in the league. So this is kind of like a toss-up to me. I'm kind of betting on the opposites here. I think Sirianni has a chance to win Coach of the Year, but I also don't have the Eagles winning more than 10 games. So it's a little hypocritical of me, but it's a little bit of a dark horse. I'm willing to throw it out there. So yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
definitely
taking
a very
swings for
solid.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I think Coach of the Year was definitely like the toughest one for me to pick. I think it's the toughest one to pick any year. I mean, after my Robert Saleh debacle, I will stand by that. It's the hardest one to pick. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see if any of us get it right. So that'll be interesting. All right, and now comeback player of the year. Tyler, if you want to start, because Decker and I picked the same person, you can kick us off here.
Right, right. And I'm so sick and tired of comeback player of the year, MVP, being these quarterback awards, right? And I while a quarterback is probably going to win it this year if they stay healthy, I really really think Christian McCaffrey is going to be back on his old shit, and he's going to be um you know old CMC. He's not injury prone, guys, okay? He's he's just had two unrelated injuries that have happened in back-to-back seasons, okay? That's not injury prone. That's just bad luck, okay? Now, I do see the argument against CMC, right? But I man, just looking back at 2019 with his season, or was it? Yeah, 2019, the season he had. I mean, when he's healthy, he's on, right? He might be the most, like, just the best two-way uh, running back. Not two-way, but he runs the ball efficiently and he can catch the ball, right? I think that adds up to not only a lot of yards, right, but it brings a lot of attention to you. And I think Christian McCaffrey is just going to get back into the swing of things, and he's going to get back to his old self. And I think he's going to rack up the yards this year, and I think he's going to win comeback player of the year.
That's very solid because he's proven before he can do it without a good quarterback.
Right.
He's never had a elite quarterback.
Right.
So he's proven he can do it before.
Just give him the ball.
Yeah, that is certainly a possibility. And, I mean, Tyler, I respect the idea that you're just sick and tired of the quarterbacks being the ones to win it. But this really isn't about making a statement. It's about being right. And that's why I think that Saints quarterback Jameis Winston
Picks Robert Saleh.
Shut up. No.
And Zach Wilson, offensive rookie of the year last year.
Yeah, Zach. Yeah, okay, Zach. Okay, but I digress. This year I'm right. This year I'm on. All right. Knock on wood. And so that's why Jameis Winston, right? When I think about how good he started the year, Tyler, I mean, I'm sure that you probably locked this far away somewhere, but we all remember that opening game, Packers versus Saints last season. Like, Jameis is totally on, Rodgers was totally not, but, I mean, it makes you wonder if maybe Jameis finally found the place to play, because, he's, I think, started off with like 1,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 3 picks, which for him is like who is this man?
Yeah, that LASIK, man.
Yeah, the LASIK. I think being able to see is definitely a big part of being a quarterback. So, I mean, don't quote me on that. But so I think that the ACL, that is a serious injury, but he's not really a run guy anyways anymore. Maybe when he was like starting out he was. I didn't really watch him back then, but I mean, I think that he's going to rely on his arm. Dude's got a plethora of weapons to work with. Thomas is back, Slant Boy is back on. You got Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, and then there's still Kamara in the backfield. You can dump it off whenever the heck you want. So. Right. I think he's in a fantastic situation, and I think that if he can play the way he did in those first, I think it was what 5, 6 games, or 7 games, yeah, I think it's his award to lose.
Yeah,
so,
real quick,
Jameis.
Decker, before you expand on that, we saw Joe Burrow have a much more severe knee injury the year before that and come back and win comeback player of the year. Now Joe Burrow is not the same quarterback as Jameis Winston or vice versa. But it's shown that, an ACL for a QB is not the end all be all. You can definitely, like as Joe Burrow's shown, you can have a very, very successful career the year after. So go ahead, Deck.
Yeah, no, basing off Juan talk and, as history shows, it is a very quarterback award as much as we wouldn't like it to be. But, Juan talk said a lot of good points, which I don't need to reiterate a whole lot. But the biggest thing is, sure, losing Sean Payton will hurt, because Sean Payton could really take any quarterback in there and, Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, the list goes on and on from years past. Drew Brees was there for a long time. But he can take any quarterback, really, keep him in the game. They can win some games. But while that might hurt, they still have their offense coordinator there who has been there since 2009, I believe, and Pete Carmichael, a name that a lot of people don't know because he's never out there for head coaching vacancies or interviews, or he's just a steadying force in New Orleans. And while Peyton's gone, him still being there will help out Jameis immensely still, because Carmichael knows he's got a little bit of wisdom in there too. And the weapons, like Montauk said, Thomas, Olave, Landry, Adam Troutman being back, who I think could still be a solid tight end for them. And then Kamara, who loves to catch out of the backfield, and Mark Ingram as well. But and on the offensive line, while the Tron Armstead at left tackle loss will hurt immensely, you still got Andres Pete, you still got Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, Ryan Ramczyk. Those guys will hold it down. Still one of the best O-lines that Jameis will ever have in his career.
I think you missed a guy. You missed a guy on the O-line. Trevor Penning. I would say if Jameis gets hurt this year, it's probably because Trevor Penning throws a guy into his knee. That's my bet.
How a guy starts a fight in training camp in 3 straight days is beyond me. This guy is already starting out his career. Not even playing a game yet where he is labeled as a bust.
Yeah.
But, overall, Jameis, I think, is just in a great situation. So, yeah. I think Montauk said all the good points as well.
Good points, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're ready to move on to, by far, the most illustrious award that a player can get. And that would be the Sexiest Player Award.
We told you we had something special.
And special this is. I mean, I kind of want Tyler to start because I think it's a little basic, Tyler.
Okay, when someone says, Sam, in your opinion, think of the NFL sexiest player. Who comes to your mind? Well, we already know.
Closed.
We already know who you picked, but I'm gonna say for 90% of NFL fans, they're going with the man, the myth, the adult actress dating legend, Jimmy Garoppolo. All right, he pulls, man. He's got the chin of a god, right? It's been chiseled by Michelangelo. Okay, now Jimmy G is just a good-looking guy. He could be in a fucking Calvin Klein commercial, guys. And while your guys might not be the most conventionally handsome or sexiest, Jimmy G is. And you know what? It's just a fact y'all have to admit, okay? But that's my pick, sexiest player in the NFL.
Yeah, that is very solid. Let's not forget he's also in a Subway commercial.
He's in a Subway commercial with his grandma.
Okay, but
No.
why are we acting like being in a Subway commercial doesn't lead to terrible things in life?
Good point. Sam, let's hear your
on
player.
that road, but
All right. Now, okay, so mine would have probably been every meme page's go-to answer like 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe I'm a little behind on the times in terms of what's funny, but I think what I picked is funny and true, and that is the Eagles' backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew. I mean, it kind of hurts to see him in that Eagles uniform because he just looked so at home in a Jaguars uniform. Something about it, just like the perfect situation, for a man with luscious long hair, beautiful brown eyes, and the mustache of an absolute just it's like I can't even think of words to describe it. It's like he was a man's man. Like because when I think of what men strive to be, back we were in kindergarten, we would say, "Oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a football player." I think kids today would say, "I want to be Gardner Minshew." Man's just charismatic as heck, man.
I will say, yeah, his attitude and his personality definitely plays into that. And I did hear this first grader once say, "When I grow up, I want to have a rat stash and a mullet like my man Gardner Minshew." So you got a point there.
So I know you're being sarcastic.
This is gonna be our longest segment, guys.
This is like veering totally off sports topic, but I have seen so many kids. So my summer job is at a movie theater, and the amount of kids that I've seen go see Minions: The Rise of Gru with mullets, and they're like 6, is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I didn't think those were coming back, but there's so many kids with mullets, and it's gross.
So you don't like mullets now?
Well, no. But there are people that can make it work. Gardner Minshew is one of them.
Gardner just makes it work.
Didn't Hulk Hogan have a mullet at some point?
I don't know, man.
I mean, he made it work.
I think throughout his entire career, Hulk Hogan had a mullet.
Okay, yeah, no, because he makes it. You have to be a certain person to make it work, and plus, I think that even adds to the fact that Gardner Minshew is the sexiest player.
I think it's just confidence.
Yeah, confidence, and he makes ugly hairstyles work. Right. And that's why Gardner Minshew, I think, is the obvious pick.
Yeah, and probably one of the worst picks I could have thought of, Decker. Why don't you say yours?
Well, Gardner Minshew is a great pick as well. Let's not forget this man can wear jorts and a cutoff just flawlessly. Mm-hmm. Chef's kiss. Mm-hmm. But for me, while Jimmy G and Gardner do come to mind when I think of sexiest player, this guy just kind of like popped up in my mind. It just kind of stuck out for me. While he is also one of the best players in the NFL, I think he should be in consideration for sexiest player in the NFL as well. Cooper Kupp. Now, obviously, he doesn't have a whole lot of attributes to what Gardner makes sexy and what Jimmy makes sexy. But for me, the blonde hair and the blue eyes, what wouldn't a woman love in that? A nice smile, and I don't know. There's just something about Cooper Kupp.
For me,
when you get
what's sexy about Cooper Kupp is definitely his humbleness. Bro's a humble guy. That's very attractive. I'll say that much. Sam, what do you find sexy about Cooper Kupp?
Okay, what do I find? Well, okay, I mean, I'm looking at some pictures right now on my computer trying to see, do I agree?
Cooper Kupp shirtless.
No, okay, maybe after midnight I'll look that up, but I'll be honest, Decker, I think without this beard, you wouldn't even consider this guy. So I think that the beard definitely helps. The blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, be careful, Tyler. I mean, Decker. There was somebody else who really liked blonde hair and blue eyes, and we don't like him very much. So
Roger Goodell.
Yeah. That's.
Let's not forget who.
He's probably worse than the guy I'm thinking of.
Why wouldn't a woman love a wide receiver who pancake blocks?
That's fair. I mean,
I love a wide receiver that pancake blocks, and you know what? I think it's a good idea to pancake block this podcast to the ground and end it here, fellas. Sound good?
Yes.
That sounds like a plan to me. I think
covered it very well.
Yes, we've been quite productive today
in
terms of our conversation. And so, of course, guys, thank you for listening to our podcast. But make sure you come back in these next couple of weeks, because next week we plan to cover our record predictions for the NFC, and then the week after that, It's going to be the AFC, and then we're going to be right into the thick of it with the regular season. And I think it's going to be one heck of a season. We're going to have a lot of great things to talk about, a lot of laughs, a lot of cries. It's just going to be just a barrel full of monkeys is going to be going on here. So make sure you guys stick around and listen more. But, yep, thank you for listening, and have a good night, everyone.